podcast. My name is Raj, and we have a couple of we have a new member to the podcast. One who's actually a childhood friend of mine. His name is Sachin. Say hi.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for
And
having me on, Raj.
thank you for joining. And as always, we got the robot here, or Soundwave, if you want to call him that.
Hello.
And for a limited time only appearance, we got our good buddy Ethan here. Say hi.
What's up, everybody?
So before we begin, I'll just explain to everybody else here that what's going on with your situation. Why you're considered limited right now.
Okay. You want to do it, or you want me to do them?
You go ahead.
So had surgery this past week, pretty substantial surgery on my right shoulder. So I'm pretty heavily medicated and kind of hard for me to be seated upright for too long. So I'll just be in temporarily, but I wanted to give my love and support to Crimson Arts Podcast. So I just wanted to pop in and say hey to everybody and show my support and thank our new guest coming in for taking over for me while I'll be gone the next few weeks. So thank you so much for filling in for me, dude. I do appreciate it.
Glad to do it.
And I believe you set up a GoFundMe. Am I
Yes.
right?
Yeah, we set up a GoFundMe to help out, mainly to help out my wife while I'm incapacitated and out of commission, is mainly to help her out with expenses and help her out with her day-to-day while I'm kind of useless right now. Because if I'm awake, I'm heavily medicated and high off my butt. And if I'm not awake, I'm asleep. So I'm not really useful right now. So it's really to help her out. So yeah, thank you guys.
Yeah. And link to his GoFundMe is within the chat itself, so you can go ahead, donate however you can, help him out. He's been a really good supporter for the site, for the channel, and we hope you make it out just a-okay, man. Really.
Yeah. Hopefully this one gets everything 100% because this is the second surgery and I can be back to 100% and get back to my day-to-day. But enough of me.
Enough of you. So we got a lot to talk about. For one, pretty well-known figures within the entertainment industry this week alone are sadly no longer with us, and this one is going to hurt deep. All right. Here's our little laundry list of items that we're going to be talking about. We're going to have a movie versus situation, which I'm really excited about, but. This hurt deep. James Earle Jones passed away earlier this week at the age of 93. As you all know, he was the voice of Darth Vader, Mufasa. He was Mr. Myrtle in Sandlot, Field of Dreams. Definitely a voice of our lifetime, and is no longer with us.
And for anybody who's ever met him, one of the kindest souls. Everybody who's ever spent any time with him professionally or meeting him as a fan, he's always been said to be one of the kindest people that you could ever meet. So a true loss for the world.
It really is. And Peter Renade, or however you want to pronounce his name, he was the voice of Master Splinter from the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle series. So there's that. And Chadwick McQueen, the son of Steve McQueen, who was
so young.
It's a really tough situation. So we're gonna give our quick moment of silence for the passing of these legends. They're legends. Let's be real. So. Anyway. All right, let's talk about some movie trailers, shall we? Now, we're not going to actually show the trailers right now. We're going to keep that like Steve actually gave me a little bit of a warning about that little soundbite from The Lion King. So I
look, I get you want to do the thing, but Disney are psychos when it comes to copyright. So
I agree. So it was just like a little bit. I'm not going to do a whole lot, but we're going to be talking about this trailer. I'm really interested in this, but my only concern with this movie, and this is like, I am in the full belief that we should just wait until we actually see what the actual Wolfman looks like, because right around the time when this trailer was circulating, I cannot believe I have to show this to you. This is what what we're essentially getting. Like, yikes!
It's a troll. It looks like a troll.
Yeah, that doesn't look like a Wolfman at all. That looks like a troll.
It looks like a fucking enemy from like Sekiro or something. You know what I mean? Like you just.
Or it looks like the old man I've seen from Black Myth Wukong.
Yes, it actually does.
Yeah.
Yet, does anybody remember the Joker screen test photos?
Yes. Fear-inspiring, sir, and not in a good way.
Yeah, that's totally. This definitely was the stuff of nightmares because I'm telling you, lighting is important. Without the use of proper lighting, you're gonna get ugly shit like that, as well as the what you're seeing on the screen right now. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I mean, a lot of times, like look at some of the superhero movies. Some of the stills we get from sets where paparazzi get pictures of the characters, and the outfits just look atrocious, right? Like, let's be real. Do you guys remember how bad the stills looked for Captain Marvel? And then like the actual lighting, the CGI, when they added everything in, it looked good. So, I mean, let's wait.
Yeah, I agree. Like, in fact, remember when Ben Affleck's Batsuit was first revealed to the public? Yeah. At that point, I don't really trust leaked photos or just photos in general. I would rely on just the trailer and or the poster, because that's all you need to know what the movie is going to be like.
And then we have the other side that Jared Leto's Joker looked good, and then we saw that.
Exactly. And
pictures can be deceiving.
I mean, you see it even with the Superman set photos that are coming out now. I've seen people complaining about the suits looking cheap or weird and stuff, and it's like, yeah, but I mean, it's taken off a cell phone camera from who knows how far away, just to people it'll show like, oh, it's baggy. It's like, yeah, they touch it up. They're gonna make it look nice. They're gonna do this thing.
And it's very rare for when the set photo actually matches the quality of the movie in a good way, and that is Wolverine's iconic yellow suit in Deadpool and Wolverine. At the set photos, it looked way too good to be true.
I'll be honest. I feel like the leaked photos from Deadpool versus Wolverine were 100% leaked intentionally, though. Let's be real.
Oh, for sure.
Let's be real, though. Ryan Reynolds is known for leaking.
He leaked the 2014 test footage, so it's no surprise.
Listen. That has neither been confirmed nor denied.
Sure. Let's go with that. But as for the teaser itself, I'm very much invested already by this teaser. For one, they definitely borrowed the vibe from Alien with the build up to the title itself, which really I love it when they do that with the title. That's really freaking cool. But like Lee Wanell, who worked on The Invisible Man from 2020 as well as Upgrade. He's definitely one of my more recent favorite horror filmmakers, especially with the way he twists the concept of these iconic horror characters like the Invisible Man being an allegory towards domestic violence, and apparently the Wolfman is an allegory towards sickness. So I find that kind of interesting, to be honest with you. And that's what
it makes sense, because the whole idea behind a werewolf is the fact that it's something inside you that takes over. So I mean, it kind of lends itself to that. It'd be interesting to see how he executes it. Yeah. I mean, we've been really blessed in the last 5 years with really, really good horror movies and really, bursting on the scene new horror directors. Like some of the stuff we've gotten lately, we're in like I'd say we're in the like you know how Disney had the Renaissance and then back in like the 2010s they had their revival. I feel like we're kind of in the horror revival time because like the 2010s weren't great for horror. There was some good stuff in there. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it was all bad, but like the last 5 years have been on point, and I'm really excited to see what these guys do as they continue to grow with bigger studios and bigger budgets. Because I mean, dude, we've got some really cool stuff lately.
Nosferatu is what I'm excited for. That's the one I'm.
Have they given a date to that yet? Have they given a year to that yet?
I think it's coming out on Christmas
this year.
Yeah.
What?
Maybe next year.
Hold on a moment.
And also say this.
I thought they hadn't given it out of date yet.
Robert Eggers, I cannot wait.
And I'll say this, even though I still prefer the first two movies, I'll definitely say this. Alien Romulus was a big improvement over most of the other Alien movies.
Yeah, I agree.
I feel like they started handing the Alien and Predator movies to like literally anyone.
I mean, Prey was amazing, right? Like,
yes,
Prey was definitely really good.
It should have been released theatrically, but
yeah. So I feel like honestly, they just kind of started handing those to anyone, and so you weren't necessarily getting the best content. And again, I feel like they're going back to guys that this is their niche. Like I forget his name, the guy who did Get Out and Us.
Jordan Peele.
Thank you. I knew it was either Jordan Peele or I knew it was one of the Key and Peele guys. I couldn't remember which one. Dude, like, where did you see him coming out with being a breakout horror director? But he loves horror, and he does it in such a subtle, creepy way. It's fantastic, and I'm loving seeing these guys come out because like we've gotten some really good horror in the last 5 years, and I'm super excited. Did anybody watch Long Legs yet?
I still haven't seen it.
I've heard about it, but
I've some mixed things. But
really good.
Listen, Nicolas Cage, but scurry.
Okay, I mean, yeah, I was sold as soon as I heard Nicolas Cage was in the movie. He's probably my favorite actor, so I'm like.
Actually, there's this one movie that I haven't seen yet, but from what I've seen, it's actually even messed up, even for someone like me. Color Out of Space. It's like an adaptation of a H.P. Lovecraft story.
It's a good one. It's not like the greatest, but it's a good one. It's pretty freaky.
I love movies that can I love movies that can be creepy and dark and like subtle ways, and also like funny over the top gore porn like Terrifier. Like every once in a while, you just want to watch something absolutely ridiculous. And I like that Terrifier does that, where it's like it's dark and it's gory and it's gross, but it's also funny. Because like they just have scenes in Terrifier that are just completely out of pocket for no reason. But I just do. Oh, I could sit here and talk all day about horror. I love horror.
Yeah, and again, Blumhouse Pictures has really made a name for themselves in the last decade alone with movies like Megan and all that. So I'm very, very excited to see.
Have they given any updates on when the next Megan is coming out? There was supposed to be a sequel.
It is confirmed we're working on it, but I'm not sure. I think it's going to be next year, but we'll have to wait and see.
I'm excited for that because the first one. Go ahead.
Is Smile also a Blumhouse? Because that's the Smile 2.
No, that's
that was A24, right?
That's coming out soon, like in a few months, I think.
I think that was A24.
That's A24. That makes sense.
So.
Yeah.
Dude, A24 has been
no. Smile 2 is Paramount. I think the original. Yeah, they're both.
Actually, one movie that really kind of shocked me in how good it was. Talk to Me.
I don't know.
Yes,
I haven't seen it. Yeah, that one I keep hearing.
It's a good one, and it's kind of interesting setting wise because apparently this one's out of Australia, and it was made by some guys who actually used to be YouTubers.
That's cool.
Oh, interesting.
What did you guys think of Crow?
Not touching it.
We're basically touching sacred ground right here. We're not going to talk about that, please. Oh, fuck you, Lionsgate. Anyway.
Well, I do think my focus is fading a little bit, guys. I'm having a little bit where I got to fade out. So that's about all for me. I do appreciate y'all letting me jump in to say hey. Hope you guys run well. I will be back in a few weeks. Give much love to my replacement because he's awesome. And I will see you guys soon.
Yep.
Peace out,
take
y'all.
Care. And once again, the GoFundMe to his situation right now, it's in the chat. So much love to him. So anyway, our next discussion is this. Now, normally I would stray away from talking politics, but considering this is a movie, it kind of blurs. So we'll talk about this for a moment. Now, I cannot believe that they decided to cast the Winter Soldier. The Winter Soldier.
That was not actually something on my bingo.
I'm not gonna lie. This actually looks rather interesting to see how he has come to be. You know, in terms of.
So I'm gonna be honest. I've actually never seen The Apprentice or something. Is it like Shark Tank or something? Yeah. Call me a freaking idiot or something. But like, keep in mind, especially around that time, I didn't really watch TV. Outside maybe some cartoons, I never really did TV that much. I was always more of a movie and video game guy.
Yeah, my parents we used to watch this show. Basically, the movie's not really actually about the show, but the show's premise was essentially these people who were like high level business people. They would all it was a reality TV show, and then they would all basically be given tasks every week. And they would split into teams. They'd have to create a marketing campaign for Dove or do this or do that. And at the end of every episode, Trump would you're fired. That was the whole thing, and then he would fire someone.
You're fired.
It literally, and that's where that came from. So that was his thing. He was like, "You're fired," and then the person would leave, and then it would go on the next episode next week, and then there'd be some winner that he would give. I don't know if you know Omarosa, but she's probably I think she was the first winner, and I think she's actually part of his staff still. But yeah, it was a weird show. It's not it wasn't highbrow TV or anything. It's a reality TV show with Donald Trump as the main character. So you can about imagine what it was like. And they did a celebrity version too, where they had Dennis Rodman was on one season and random C-list celebrities, and then they would do the same type of thing, except I think it was for charity instead.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So when does this thing come out?
October 11th, 2024.
Thank you. Oh, that's the weekend we'll be in San Antonio. Funny. We'll be watching Terrifier 3 anyway, so it doesn't really matter to us. So, oh well. And now we'll talk about this. Oh my god. Jack Black. This is not Jack Black's year.
You are not Steve.
Yeah, he's Steve, the one that just talked. Well, it's actually rather funny. Yesterday, just almost 2 hours before we went to see a particular movie that we're going to be talking about later on in the episode, he was legit wearing the same exact kind of colored T-shirt. I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing in the real world? Get back into Minecraft. But anyway, so this is one of the most controversial movie trailers in recent memory, mostly because of the way this thing is presented. Look, I'm in the firm belief that not everything needs to be an adaptation, and Minecraft is certainly one of them. I mean, I'm aware that there is some kind of lore to Minecraft, I guess, but cool. I am aware that there's a thing called Minecraft Story Mode, but for me, Minecraft has always been surviving and building shit. That's all I know about it. Okay, but
I guess if you don't mind, I'm sorry. I don't understand why this wouldn't be just an animated film. Why would this be? It needs to be live action.
Because David Zaslav hates animation. This is a Warner Brothers property. It's distributed by Warner Brothers, and if you don't know, for the last couple of years, Zaslav has put in a lot of fucking anti-animation moves as of late, from canceling the Coyote vs. Acme movie,
of course, right?
Moving Batman Cape Crusader from Max to Amazon Prime, and Velma, which is the most anti-animation animated series ever made. It's just a total disaster. And hey, there's Ethan. Hey, welcome back to the chat. At least he's there. And thanks for the for whatever that is, as well as the dinos. Thanks for the dinos. So. Well,
yeah, I mean, I think people were thinking, I guess, after Super Mario Bros. And after the Fallout TV series, there was probably one or two other kind of good adaptations in there. I feel like I'm missing.
Last of Us and
Last of Us. I didn't think Last of Us was that great, but it was, whatever. That's fine.
That's fair.
And other but things like that, right? I think there was some chatter about people thinking, oh, like, is this going to be the next big thing, right? Like, we went from kind of superhero movies having their moment, and now is it going to be like all this video game adaptation content? But I don't think that's going to be the case. Like you saw with Borderlands, which is I don't even know what the fuck.
Yeah,
to say
that
about
ended on a
Borderlands.
$30 million box office gross with a $110 million budget. That's embarrassing.
That's crazy. Yeah, and so then you have stuff like this. It's kind of I mean, it's not like I was gonna say it's embarrassing, but that's too harsh. In a funny way, it's like it harkens back to the early 2000s when they were just cranking out shit video game movies, but they weren't doing it with the hottest properties in that same way. So I don't know. It's just a weird choice, and the movie looks terrible. I mean, it looks terrible. Like, not only does it look like a terrible movie, but it actually like physically like hurts my eyes to look at.
It does. It really, really does. Like, I mean, like the environments alone, they look all right, but once you get to the character models, like the fucking sheep, just like it grosses me out so much. Like, it's sad that Beetlejuice, a character that is known to being gross and fucking toxic as hell, is much more easy on the eyes than the fucking Minecraft movie.
Agreed. Yeah, I don't know. It's a weird one because, I don't know what they were thinking with this. I don't know what they were cooking. I don't know who to let them cook, but they should not allow them back in the kitchen.
And what makes the Minecraft movie extra sadder, in my opinion, at least, the guy who's directing this shit. If you're a Napoleon Dynamite fan, this is going to depress you. Because it's the same guy directing this.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny. It's funny.
I'm sorry,
because
I just gotta do this. You fucking idiots.
Thank you.
It's funny because, what was it? Oh, I just had it, and I just completely forgot what I was going to say. Oh, yes. I think this originally started as like a project that Rob McElhenney wanted to do from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. He plays Mac and is one of the head writers of the show. And I just remember like maybe almost maybe 7-8 years ago, I was on podcasts that was like some big news that was coming out of I think maybe a Comic-Con or something. It was like, yeah, Rob McElhenney's going to write and direct this Minecraft movie. And I think that fell through, and it probably eventually became this, that the studio picked up the rights, and then they just decided to actually make some bullshit with it. So
yeah, like from the man who made Napoleon Dynamite and Nacho Libre is making a Minecraft movie. This is unbelievably disastrous, really. Oh, wait, hold on a second. I saw a take on this. It's made for kids, and they'll like it, but they were looking at it as adults who knew it as kids. Yeah, you're not wrong. Like, for all of us, Minecraft came out at a time when pretty much all of us were kids, really. And to see it through the eyes of an adult, but as a kid, like it's just kind of tough to even consider. But there is a working theory, that this is probably going to be like an anthology sequence where we'll have like mini short stories of different versions of Minecraft, where in one world we'll end up in a world kind of like where the human characters look human, and then there will be another world where all the human characters look like the characters from the game. If that's the case, then you kind of fucked up there, because you're only showcasing one teaser as opposed to that anthology that these like because it's not the Minecraft movie or Minecraft movie. It's called a Minecraft movie, which is honestly confusing as fuck to me. But my big gripe with this is, yeah, you're right. Like, why isn't this animated? That is the biggest gripe that a lot of people have with this fucking trailer alone. Like, why aren't the human characters animated? What they could have done is that, yes, have the entire movie be animated, but if you want to have like live action elements, have it be literally people playing the game. Like there was a movie that came out roughly a decade ago, right? That featured blocks, like it's all about building shit, and there were some live action elements. Oh yeah, it's called the Lego Movie. Like
I mean, like the like you mentioned earlier, right? Like the quote unquote story of Minecraft. It's pretty easy to like, I think, to make a generic adventure around, right? You have to get the eyes of Ender and go to the whatever, go to get the obsidian, go to the Nether, get the Ender eyes, then put it in the stronghold. Like it's like a very like A to B to C to D like adventure plot that you can create tension around in so many different ways. Like, I don't think you need all this extra trappings around it, but man, maybe I'm being naive. You know, I don't write movies, so maybe I'm making it sound easier than it would actually be.
yeah. Oh well. Well, there's nothing more we can say about this disaster. On to more other disasters. Holy shit! So this is not Sony's year. Whether if it's the video game department or the movie department, Sony just sucks this year. They had a flop with Ghostbusters: Frozen Empire. I found it kind of enjoyable, fine, whatever, but it flopped at the box office. It really did. It didn't do so hot, mostly because of the story being all over the place, which is a common criticism with a lot of Sony's recent projects. Really, let's see. Yeah, this movie had $100 million budget and earned 201.9 million. It didn't do so hot, so that's one thing. Uh, they claim they have no games or franchises for the PlayStation 5 when they have an entire laundry list of franchises that they've been not only that they have, but they also been neglecting. Like, let's see here, Killzone. There's also Jack and Daxter. Am I missing anything?
I mean, I don't know if they're gonna go back to the Jack. I mean, that's a Naughty Dog is a completely different company now, right? I mean, it's
Yeah.
the whole separate thing. But I know exactly what you're saying, right? I mean, they have so many properties, and on top of that, they closed down so many studios, including Sony Japan studios, where a lot of
Who
their
worked on fucking Bloodborne?
Yeah, like a lot of their I mean, a lot of their the Japan studios had some of the most fun games, Katamari.
Oh, and also
like
the Ico and Shadow of the Colossus.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
We got the shutdown, the release and subsequent shutdown of Concord, which was a big like, what the fuck were you thinking, Sony, with that? From what I heard, this thing was in development for 8 years. It finally gets released, but the problem with, hey, Ruscio, welcome, thanks for joining, and happy Independence Day for Mexicans out there. Anyway, so like the problem with Concord, and it's a larger problem with Sony as a whole, that they've not done a good job marketing the games that they have on their belt this year, like Black Myth Wukong, Stellar Blade, Concord. They heck, like, I knew about Concord, but my good buddy Anthony, who will no doubt pop in at some point, he had no idea what the fuck Concord was. That's due to poor marketing. They didn't even do anything about it, and they just shut down the game. It no longer exists.
Yeah, Astrobot is one of my favorite games of the year, and I didn't see next to any marketing around the release of that game. The only reason I even remembered that it came out was because everyone on Twitter, all the games people I follow were going crazy over it. So I was like, all right, I'll give it a spin. But I didn't really see a big push from Sony. I mean, okay, maybe they thought it's like a more streamlined type of game, but like that, it hit perfectly for me, Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of weird stuff that Sony's doing, and like Concord is another weird one that, like, I think Raj, you and I were talking before the show that Sony definitely made these plays a long time ago. I've heard that 8 years claim is a little dubious. The studio is a little less than 5 years old, so the game may have been thought of, 8 years ago by the head of the studio or something, but I wouldn't call it 8 years in development. Even however long it was in development, it's the result of like poor planning from like an executive team that pushes. Look at a team like Rocksteady, who made that Suicide Squad game, right? After making the excellent Arkham series, right? And you can see that like these companies are kind of losing. They kind of lost the plot when these games like Fortnite and these big live service games kind of took off. And I think they thought they could recreate that, right? You can even look at Anthem, right? When BioWare tried Anthem, right? And it just keeps happening, right? You can't recreate the circumstances that made Fortnite, get to where it is now, when it blew up or initially, or Overwatch, right? Those games became popular not only because they're good, but because of the context of the time that they're in, right? And you look at something like Fortnite, right? It was going to be a different game, and PUBG started blowing up, then changed everything, and they got to where they are. But like, I guess what I'm trying to say is that like it just shows that you can't just copy the formula and say, "Hey, we're going to do that. We're going to do Overwatch, right? We're going to make it stories."
Every time something comes out, regardless on like what it is, everyone's going to want to try to chase and recreate. Like when Call of Duty came out and exploded, everyone wanted to be that one. When Halo came out, everyone wanted to do that one. Okay, I'm jumping more to TV for this one, but when The Simpsons came out, a lot of like sitcoms were trying to be more like that one. Then everything was trying to copy the MCU, so on and so forth. They're always trying to jump in the bandwagon without understanding how it works in the first place.
Chasing the trends, it's always going to be a thing.
For sure.
But what Sony is doing...
Also, hi, Anthony. How you doing?
Oh, damn. I hope you're okay. Stay safe, bud. But on to more of Sony's troubles. I told you this is going to be a laundry list of Sony's problems, like on top of with Avi Arad, but we'll touch on him in a moment. Oh, my God. The PlayStation 5 Pro has officially been revealed, and it is an absolute joke. Oh, my God. First of all, this thing is the base PS5 Pro is $700. It supposedly has a much more powerful processor or whatever. Okay, am I supposed to be impressed here? Like, what games are you going to release with this thing? Secondly, where there is no stand and no disk drive, you're gonna have to purchase that separately. They're pulling an Apple. Sony is pulling an Apple on the PS5 Pro. So ideally, you're not going to be spending $700 for this thing. If you want to get the disk drive and the stand and a couple of games, I guess you're going to spend not just $800, spend almost $900 on the PlayStation 5 Pro.
At this point, you might as well just join the PC master race at this point, considering, okay, yeah, there's still essentially like a lot of like more expensive builds, but with the price that we see right there, you might as well just get like a decent mid-range gaming PC, and not only would you essentially just get roughly around the same stuff that what Sony's offering, but you can have like a lot more features, more access to different types of games, and so forth.
You're better off.
At this point, PlayStation is pretty much putting most of their games on PC anyway, so at this point, it's only a matter of time before all that's left is really PC and Nintendo.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, right? And that fucking presentation they had where they showed the blades of grass and fucking Ratchet and Clank. Like, give me a break, man.
I'm sorry, I got this. Maybe I could eat blades of grass. I'm maybe. Yeah, I couldn't resist billboards. I like that guy.
And this is sort of transitioning from Sony to Avi Arad in general, but Venom: The Last Dance is proof that Sony's Spider-Man spin-off universe, with no Spider-Man, by the way, is their Star Wars sequel trilogy. They don't have a real plan. Oh my fucking God. $200 for a plate. But, okay, so the latest trailer, I'm not even going to show a screenshot of this bullshit at all, unlike what I did for the Wolfman and Minecraft and the Apprentice. I'm not doing that because it doesn't deserve it. It honestly, I'm honestly just he's boy. I'm doing the same thing. I ain't fucking watching this bullshit. First of all, this movie is rated R. Yeah, Venom: The Last Dance is apparently R-rated, along with the upcoming Kraven the Hunter that's coming out later in December. I ain't watching either film. Both can suck a dick for all I care. First of all, everybody and their mother has been complaining that Venom should have been R-rated from the get-go, right? And according to Mr. Avi Arad, the brilliant producer who knows a lot about, no, he doesn't. He doesn't. He doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. He screwed over Spider-Man 3 by forcing Venom, because apparently he has a giant boner for Venom for some reason. He screwed over the Amazing Spider-Man, Uncharted, Borderlands. He has no idea what to do with these Spider-Man spin-off movies. The list goes on and on. Okay. All right. So, like I said, they finally decided to go with an R rating for Venom. They couldn't do it for Venom 2. Let There Be Carnage, a character who's notorious for being a
that one was the most bullshit for me.
Literally a serial killer monster.
Exactly. But according to Mr. Arad, quote unquote, kids love Venom. Kids. Yet there's a comic book character that had a trilogy just now. All of them R-rated, and yet they managed to make a shitload of money in the box office. And considering that's the only thing studios really give a shit about, it's the money. And the fact that almost every single one of his projects by Sony have flopped hard. Madam Web, Morbius. Somehow the Venom movies did pretty well. I don't know how.
Well, it's probably because he's more recognizable at the very least.
Yeah, and I mean, the first Venom movie was was it a good movie? No, but it was entertainingly bad. You know what I mean?
It was a meme. It was a meme. And that just goes to show also how out of touch Sony is. Because remember when Morbius came out? They re-released that shit because of the dumbass Morbin Time meme. Here's the thing, Sony. We're not laughing with you on this. We're laughing at you. Oh my god.
Holy shit, what a fucking disappointment.
Thank you. Oh my god. Like we mentioned earlier, Borderlands was a disappointment. He looks at potential he looks at stuff from a distance, like Borderlands, right? That franchise was ripe for cinematic potential. But
every single Borderlands fan who saw that trailer.
Bloody hell, you're awful.
It's embarrassing. It really, really is embarrassing. Oh boy. I don't know what else to say here. It's rest in peace, the Sony spin-off Spider-Man universe without Spider-Man. Okay, that's the other thing. Apparently, there's a character in the latest trailer. It's Null, the symbiote leader, and apparently the creators of Null had no idea their character was being used in this movie, and they're demanding Sony to outright pay them. What the fuck is going on with this thing? Oh my god! I've had my problems with Sony for years now. With especially when what's his name, Jim Ryan was running Sony PlayStation, but somehow it got worse.
I mean, Jim Ryan knew to get out when the getting was good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know.
He abandoned ship right as things were about to go bad for them. He was like, "Yeah, I'm good. I think I made my bag. I'm good to get off this ship." And then it just kind of, did a little bit of a downfall from there.
And not to mention the fact that there was also a recent drama suggesting that Beyond the Spider-Verse, it might not come out next year, but in 2027. Apparently, that rumor's been debunked by the film's composer, but that's besides the point. Hey, thanks for the dinos, Ruscio. it's Sony needs to get a fucking grip because it's really kind of it's not kind of it is concerning. Like, remember when during the Xbox Game Showcase back in what, June or July, it was in June. It was in June. Um, they unveiled the all digital Xbox Series X, and that thing is pretty much the same price as the ordinary Xbox Series X. You know, the one with the disk drive. Like, what I appreciate about Microsoft is, while yes, they have a notorious habit of shutting down studios, and that's also concerning. But at least they're giving their consumers time to adjust to a much more all digital future. Meanwhile, Sony, they're pretty much like harping on this all digital future as if, like, you got to do this or don't do
When
this
at
at
this
all.
point, Steam's probably already done a much better job with this as well, and Microsoft with Game Pass. Though I don't know even know if I can really say Xbox is in that much of a better position either, because, well, they haven't really had a game that kind of matched even some of the recent PlayStation ones. And no, I'm not including Concord. I'm talking something like Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, God of War Ragnarok, and Horizon Forbidden West. I know that's only a few lists, but at least something. I think the biggest game that Xbox had at one point was Starfield, and then I think, and to my knowledge, I might be wrong, but everyone just kind of forgot about it. And then there was also Hi-Fi Rush, but then there was that whole issue of studios getting shut down and a whole bunch of jobs getting like slashed. So
Well, here's
at this point,
here's the thing about Microsoft that I have to give to Microsoft as opposed to Sony. Okay, Sony fucked up by announcing something that nobody likes at all. Microsoft knew when to shut the fuck up. Like, if they have nothing worthwhile to show, they're not showing it at all. Thank God that's not the case for Microsoft. Sony, however, they thought that they had something with the PS5 Pro. They thought they had something with Venom: The Last Dance. They thought they had something with Concord. Look what the fuck happened with that. They don't know, like, and not to mention the fact that, like, apart from Helldivers 2, some of the other games that they have under development, they're not even marketing that. They're not. Microsoft, yes, they don't have anything. Sure, I'll give you that, but at least they know when to shut the fuck up, if you know what I mean. So, anywho, we're gonna move on from Sony's bullshit for a moment because we're 43 minutes in. Jeez. Now we're gonna get on to a little game called Movie Versus. Anybody interested?
Let's do it.
So this is the show. This is the game that I created where I picked two movies related to a much more recently released film, and you guys have to debate which is the better film. Now, originally it was going to be Beetlejuice versus Batman '89, but considering Batman is a more mainstream comic book character, I figured we do something a little bit more niche. Beetlejuice versus Edward Scissorhands.
wait, what?
Yeah, we're gonna play that kind of game. So, Steve, would you be the honors of defending Beetlejuice?
I guess.
And Sachin, you'll handle Edward Scissorhands. So here's how the rules are going to play out. Okay, give me a second. I need to get a piece of paper. Okay. So there are a total of 7 different categories. You've got star, co-star, music, cinematography, writing, direction, and overall best picture. Now, whoever has the better debate, better argument, right? Obviously, they're going to get the point. And whoever had the most points clearly is the best overall winner of the game. Okay? And keep this in mind. There is no right or wrong answer. Go at your own pace. You know, I'm not going to force you into giving a proper answer. This is all your opinion. And keep this in mind. We all love these movies. These movies are fucking fantastic. Okay? But we're just going to have some fun here, shall we? So let's get on to the first category, and that is the star. Which is the which was the better title character, Beetlejuice or Edward Scissorhands? I'll let you go.
Forgive me, I had a little stage fright. Or something. I would definitely say Beetlejuice is the bigger one because his is a bit of a fascinating case. Despite the movie being called, well, Beetlejuice, weirdly enough, he actually appears in it for only roughly around 20 minutes. But let's be honest, he makes full freaking use of those 20 minutes. Anytime he's on, he's just filled up with like so much energy, so much sporadic stuff, and he just like completely just like, well, sucks you in and stuff. He's got so many quotable lines. I mean, like the whole, I've seen The Exorcist about 167 times, and it keeps getting funnier every single time I see it. Not to mention the fact that you're talking to a dead guy. Now what do you think? You think I qualified?
All right, Sachin, let me know why you think Edward Scissorhands is the better star compared to Beetlejuice.
One more thing.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Not only does he actually do a really good job at being like absolutely hilarious and just like a bit of a scumbag, but one that's definitely like you just love watching. But at the same time, he's definitely does a pretty good job at both being hilarious, but also kind of intimidating on a lot of parts. Even if it's his usual stick, a lot of the abilities that he's able to do is quite varied, impressive, so on and so forth. Especially in terms of what he does throughout like most of the movies in order to get what he wants.
All right, Sachin, go ahead.
Yeah, I agree that Michael Keaton is obviously a stalwart in Beetlejuice, but I do love Johnny Depp's performance in Edward Scissorhands. Just so it's so emotional. It's a beautiful, moving and touching performance. Even if I am generally more of a Michael Keaton guy, this movie is all about Johnny Depp, and it showcases his talent like beginning to end. And I think there's few who can really transform themselves like this, and the way he does it in this movie is it's amazing. So,
Yep.
Okay, so both have brought up pretty good points on how he's like Johnny Depp brings out his more vulnerability to the character, and Steve brings up the fact that like yes, he's only there for 20 minutes, but he made the most of it within those 20 minutes, and for that comment alone, I actually have to give it to Beetlejuice there. Like yes, Edward Scissorhands does appear. Like it's his movie, obviously, but so is Beetlejuice. It's supposed to be his movie, but despite the limited amount of screen time, it's much more engaging. It's much more exciting to see. It's hilarious. It's also quite fucked up, especially with the forced marriage bit at the end. I'll give that to you, Steve. Well done.
Thank you.
Now we'll get on to the co-stars, which is going to be a little bit tricky, but let's see how we can do with that. Steve, Sachin, go right ahead. Go at your own pace. I'm not going to rush.
Okay, this one, the first one was definitely short but to the point. This one is actually a little bit more varied. You got the Maitlands, played by Alec Baldwin and Gina Davis, and they definitely do a pretty good job, all things considered, kind of being more of the straight people of the story. I mean, okay, they still, well, they freaking die and stuff, and even they kind of do like a bunch of crazy stuff in order to try to scare the deets away, but they just have a little bit of trouble. But they definitely bring some much needed levity in a film that's, let's be honest, is kind of insane. And then you get then you get like the Deets family, who it's kind of funny how even though they're not really from like the underworld, they're just his like weird and eccentric and so forth. I mean, you got the father who all he wants to do is just simply like relax, like bird watch. You got like the I might not remember the names, but I definitely know, like their traits. Like the mom was essentially like a sculptor who made some very interesting sculptures, to say the least. And you got Otho, who was essentially supposedly like a paranormal type guy. And well, then again, this type of family's from like freaking New York, so that actually doesn't surprise me. And then you got Lydia Dietz, who is also strange, but kind of in her own way. Not really like the other one. She's kind of a little bit more like essentially like the dark and mysterious, or I guess more like the goth one. But the thing is, she's still like the one person who's actually able to see the Maitlands, even though they're ghosts, and she kind of starts to develop a bit of a relationship with them, and you do kind of like care about her a little bit, even with the type of family that she has. You definitely she seemed okay. I cannot talk. I do feel like she's definitely a good enough character for someone who's definitely a little bit more stranger, but at the same time, she still also kind of bring so much levity and is like a good person to kind of help out the Maitlands and whatever the issue that they were in. And then you got all the other characters, like the ones from essentially the afterlife, which I gotta admit, it's kind of one of the most like interesting and also kind of most hilarious ones, because even in the afterlife, there's like so much bureaucracy and other things they gotta do in terms of like waiting rules and so forth. That
we'll talk on the world building and during the writing. Just stick with the characters. Okay?
Sorry. All right, I think that's probably about it for now. But you kind of got the gist of it.
Okay, Sachin?
Sachin?
I didn't realize I was on mute. Of course, you also have Winona Ryder over here. I think her role in the film as this, this I don't know how to describe it, like this unattainable thing, and the eeriness of the whole town, the different characters you have. Of course, you've got Vincent Price, playing the inventor. I believe that's Vincent Price, right, in that role, the horror legend. You've got a lot of interesting characters that make this town, the setting that this is all taking place in, really come to life. That kind of surrealistic kind of world that Burton builds in Edward Scissorhands, and I think all of the supporting cast helps to bring that world to life in a really amazing way. Which is, I think, this doesn't really put a point in my corner or any corner, but that's part of what makes Tim Burton such a great director. When he's doing it well.
Oh, Raj.
You're on mute.
Funny, I didn't even realize I was on mute either. So yeah, go ahead, Ethan. Go get some good rest. Thank you for joining, man. Really appreciate you. But in terms of the two arguments here, in terms of how it helped, like support the story and world of respective films. I'm gonna have to give that to Sachin, really, because he brought the idea that like it's a much more vulnerable state. It's much more surreal. Like I like that the fact that, like you said, that it's a much more surreal situation, that we got this gothic character, and you mix it with the ordinary citizens of this average looking town, So I'm gonna give it. It's so far it's a tie. Just so you know.
All right, 1-1.
Now we'll get on to. This is probably going to be really, really tough, because it's done by the maestro Danny Elfman, the music. So take your time. I'm not going to rush you. So let me know which soundtrack is much more inviting, or whatever you want to call it. So go ahead. What are you doing?
Deo. Okay, I can resist that one. I would definitely say I really like the music of Beetlejuice for multiple things. And okay, there's actually two things. There's obviously the music by Danny Elfman that's really good, but there's also like a couple like jukebox songs here and there, or at least two of them. One is, well, what I sang day at the scene with some of the characters essentially getting possessed, which is essentially like a really big highlight of it, as well as Jump in the Line at the end, which is also a really good one. But yeah, for the most part, Danny Elfman's music for Beetlejuice is wonderful and twisted, especially for the type of film it is. Like I said, this is definitely a bonkers type of movie, given like what usually happens with it. Even the real world, where you think it's supposed to be a little bit more grounded reality, it's still just as insane. So basically, having the music like it is, you definitely need something that would definitely be able to match it. And I would definitely say Danny Elfman did a really good job kind of conveying that type of like twisted nature. And it doesn't have to be just like the bombastic theme that plays during the beginning of the movie, but even some of the more like eerie moments here and there, either essentially when they're up in the attic or when they're in the afterlife. It does like a really good job kind of setting the mood a little bit. And like I said, the song choices, like for example, the two that I mentioned, is definitely like one of the big highlights. And it also just shows like how, like I said, just pure insane this film is, and it also uses to advantage to a little bit. So I definitely would say I prefer the music in this one, not just because I feel it fits a theme so much, but it's also used in like pretty creative ways, all things considered. Like in some cases, like some parts of music almost like interact with like the plot itself.
All right, Sachin, go ahead.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go back to the same well with mine, which is bringing the sense of the world, but not only that, but the themes, the sense of longing for human connection, that solitary feeling of loneliness. I think that comes out so beautifully in his soundtrack for Edward Scissorhands. I mean, the main theme, or like that ice dance, if I remember.
The ice dance is one of the most gorgeous sequences in film history, in my opinion.
Exactly right. And so you see these moments, like, or you hear these moments like that, and they just like they lift you up, and they also, it has that feeling of swelling, and that crescendo and rising to something good that's ultimately tinged in this kind of sadness and this longing and sad, and like I said, sadness already, but that I think, much like the characters in the movie described, personally, and we'll get there, but I mean, I think, Edward Scissorhands is probably, the best Tim Burton has ever been, with all his collaborators working in full force. And I think the music really like exemplifies how it shows that everyone was working at the top of their game with making this movie.
That's also a very good point. Now, like, I love how Steve mentions that how the music plays along with the plot, like Deo and all that. But oh, hold on a moment. Breaking. The script for Constantine 2 is finished. Producer is too scared to read it. Okay, very well. But we need to get back to movie verses, though. But I do love how you mentioned that this is basically Danny Elfman at his best, and that I have to agree with. As much as I love Beetlejuice, with Deo and Jumping the Line and all that, like it was very good additions to the plot of Beetlejuice and whatnot. I also too felt that there was a strong and emotional connection with the character's sense of isolation. Like, even though when he was with the crowd, you can still sense the need to belong. And unfortunately, it ends off in probably one of the most tragic endings of all time, where Kim had to pretend that he's no longer there, even though he is. It's a really, really sad situation, and actually the music helps sway that feeling. And Danny Elfman himself, as along with Tim Burton, admits that this is their best work yet as a collab. After considering Tim Burton and Danny Elfman, they work together constantly. This was their best work yet. So for that alone, I'm going to have to give it to you, Sachin.
All right.
I hate, like I said, I love both soundtracks. I love Beetlejuice, but there's just a much more emotional weight compared to Beetlejuice, in my opinion. But now we're gonna get to the cinematography, the look of the film. Both have been done by Bo Welch, who's a master production designer. And he's actually worked on on one MCU movie. But by the end of this episode, I want you to guess what that MCU movie is. Hold on, John Bon Jovi saved a girl. Oh, cool. We'll save that for next episode, man. Like we're already tight. But yeah, John Bon Jovi did save a girl from jumping off a bridge in Nashville. Well, props to him. Props to him. So I'm gonna.
That's right, Bon Jovi.
So I'm going to leave you two and once again for the cinematography, which had the better look or the more interesting look of the film, from the practical effects to the sets and everything. Let me know right now. Yeah, sounds good, man. Sounds good. Go ahead.
I would definitely say the cinematography for Beetlejuice is definitely better. And don't get me wrong, Edward Scissorhands definitely has a really nice look to and unique look to it. But I just thought that Beetlejuice is the one that just really kind of stuck with me a lot more in my opinion. I just liked how like almost like imaginative, otherworldly, and just even like dark and twisted as a lot of the different worlds. I mean, you obviously got like the typical house that belonged to the Maitlands, but then it actually almost gets like a completely like new and just as almost like bizarre look once the Dietz does all the renovations to the house. Then there's also the model set of the town, which they even like shrink down. You kind of see a little bit, and they do a really good job at making this whole set almost look absolutely like huge and almost like what would it be like if it was like fully like life size. Then you got essentially the afterlife, which is definitely one of the more unique and unique ones that I've definitely seen. And whenever I see that one, it immediately screams not only Tim Burton but obviously Beetlejuice. I mean, you essentially got how the afterlife looks in terms of like all the different, and how it's essentially like an afterlife, but at the same time, it's almost just like a demented office building where they need to kind of go through a bunch of different people who unfortunately passed away, and they need to figure out like what to do next, so on so forth. You got all the people you got a bunch of the people who one of the unique things I actually liked about this movie is whenever you see some of the characters essentially in the afterlife, you kind of they're essentially like how they die. Like some might have slit wrists, one might have their head chopped off, one might have a shrunken head, one might be flattened, and so on and so forth. And all of it is done with like practical effects, which is really impressive. And like I said, there's a lot of stuff that I just don't think I've really seen any other movie really kind of replicated. I mean, they've tried to in some cases. I mean, there was even like a lot of movies that were actually trying to kind of copy what Beetlejuice did, but not always to no avail. So I'll definitely just gotta say Beetlejuice. I kind of like the look of everything. I like how it does really good in terms of the sets, especially for like the model town when they're over there. I like the look of the afterlife and how otherworldly is, despite the fact that a lot of it's also just kind of like regular mundane. It just so happens like everyone's dead, even. And the use of color is like insanely vibrant. Like even for something like this one, a lot of the afterlife and the night scenes, the colors just completely pop out, and it's just one of the things I just really just kind of stood out about the movie. I just love how like the use of color are used to essentially kind of make everything so vibrant, but at the same time even pretty intimidating on some parts too.
How does it compare to Edward though? Like because it kind of also has that similar look and feel a little bit.
I mean, yeah, I think I would agree with a lot of those points about the look and feel part of it, right? Like you look at the picture you have on the top right, which is that's from Edward Scissorhands, correct?
Yep.
You have this town, this kind of like suburban town, and it's made so interesting, even more interesting by the fact that the colors, like you mentioned, Steve, that are so vibrant, like the houses pop, and then it's like all backlayed by this fucking weird ass building in the back, and the woods and all this stuff where you see it all going down. And I love also just the designs of all the interiors that they use in the movie, just like when you see all the different fucking bird cages and shit behind him, like whatever they choose to prop out the room and fill it up with props that bring these like interiors to life as well as like these exterior shots. It's so beautiful, and it creates that sense of eeriness once again, and it brings you back to it, right? Like the suburban kind of quaint life that can become kind of like a both a goal but also a trap for people in terms of their mental state and what they want out of life in terms of that isolation and things of that nature. So
well, I do. I'm glad that you brought that up, but I appreciate the fact that Steve brings up the idea that like how it's got this unique look in terms of the afterlife, which is a totally separate realm as we speak. Has like he mentioned earlier with the bureaucracy and how the afterlife essentially works. So for that alone, I'm going to have to give that to Steve. Honestly, I do agree that there's a much more balanced situation, especially with the way the rules work. With Edward Scissorhands, like it's definitely a Beauty and the Beast kind of situation where like if you know the story of Beauty and the Beast and whatnot, where Edward Scissorhands is the Beast and he's brought, but it's kind of like a reverse Beauty and the Beast, kind of, if that makes any sense. So for that alone, I have to give it to Beetlejuice because if it's just like the unique look has he mentioned it that it's the kind of look that has not been replicated in other media from the creature designs like the sandworm and all that. So for that, I'm gonna have to give it to Steve. So funny enough, you're tied.
2-2.
Now we'll get down to the writing. Now, Edward Scissorhands is done by Tim Burton himself, and Beetlejuice was actually, hold on, Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice was actually done by Michael McDowell and Larry Wilson, so it's a completely different situation. Let me know what you think. Who did the writing? Who wrote their stories better, Tim Burton or those other two? Again, take your time.
So wait, writing is in like how the story?
Yeah, how is the story written? Story or dialogue? Let me know what's.
Well, I'll say this: there's actually one thing I do like about the movie that's kind of sorely from lacking from a lot of films. Straight into the freaking point. Okay, I'm only gonna make like a quick detour on this one, but I feel like a lot of movies nowadays always just gotta like almost over-explain some stuff. They need to get like as much detail as they can, and I can definitely understand it. But sometimes it just gets to a point where it's almost like completely too much. And why do you need to bloat like the runtime as much as you can? Beetlejuice, on the other hand, is a film that has all those crazy ideas on like what happens to most of the characters, how do some of the rules of the afterlife work, how does Beetlejuice work, how does the family work, and all in like an hour and a half or an hour and 40 minutes or something. The fact they're able to do all that in that short amount of time makes me miss those movies where it was just short and to the point. It also does a really good job of kind of, even with the quick pacing, it still does a good job on what's showing, like how everything happened, like who are the Maitlands, what exactly happened to them, how did they end up in the situation that they are, who is the family, who's Beetlejuice, what's his deal, how do they try to figure out how to scare them away out of their house, and how do they interact with this entire world. And for the most part, it does a very good job of pretty much condensing that all into a short and to the point information. And if you kind of look at some of the basic stuff, it kind of seems like maybe a typical ghost house story, but the way it does say with, like I said, how how the underworld works, how the family is. Like you think it's just gonna be a typical, oh, this is just be like a regular normal family, kind of like the Maitlands. Screw that. There any aside from maybe the father, but even then he's just kind of more of a I just want to relax and watch birds. Most of the family is pretty much just as weird and bizarre as the actual afterlife itself. So it just kind of shows that no matter whether you're dead or alive, life is just absolutely bizarre. There's also a lot of really good, like I said, good action here. There are a lot of really hilarious scenes, and different ways on how this isn't. I'm sorry.
No, take your time.
How the underworld works, what are the different ways that they try to scare them. Like, you think it's just gonna be a typical, Boo with like bed sheets and so forth, and they do kind of play around with that a little bit. And the other thing I forgot about this movie is, well, for a film that's PG, this is a pretty scary movie on some part. There's so many things where if you try to show a kid this movie and it was essentially the same type of PG as Inside Out 2, it would probably scar them for life. But for someone like me, this would definitely be right up my alley. And even like I said, the different scares that they try to do for them, there's this one scene that was really kind of unique in terms of, well, kind of playing around with how their bodies look in terms of how to make them almost like scary looking monsters is really kind of unique, and I've never actually seen something like that done in most other films. So one thing I definitely like about it is kind of maybe like a ghost at first glance it definitely seems like your typical haunted house story, but there's a lot of different things, like in terms of the writing, how the characters interact, how do they do all the scares, how do they work off of each other, that it's a case of it sounds familiar, but at the same time it's got its own unique spin to make it stand out compared to the rest.
Very well. Sachin, go ahead.
I think Edward Scissorhands is it's a very I believe it was written by Caroline Thompson. The story, according to Wikipedia here, the story is by Tim Burton, which the story itself is, it's a beautiful little sad, parable kind of thing, a story of longing and sadness and like lost love that, you can never achieve. But I think the actual themes of the film that are expressed through the writing are what makes it such a strong contender in this category for writing. I mean, I keep bringing up the same things here, but that the eeriness, all these things are all compounded through the writing, and how they weave the kind of that theme of isolation into how the characters behave and how they speak. I think just overall as a story, it's, I don't think it's the most, inventive thing ever, but I think as a film, it's so compelling because of in part the writing that brings a story like that to life and makes it pop in a way you wouldn't just from hearing what the plot of the story is, I guess.
Okay, so here's my take here. I would say, Edward Scissorhands is definitely a much more personal story, considering. And yes, I looked this up on Wikipedia myself as well. That this definitely this is a character that he came up with when he was a teenager, when he was also living in a he felt isolated within his hometown. So you can definitely see a lot of Tim Burton within the character of Edward Scissorhands. But on the other hand, Beetlejuice has these rules, and how they how he managed to make that flow was so ingenious, so well thought out. So for that alone, as well as the different ideas and the way things were presented, how it was told to the audience and whatnot, was really, really well told. So for that alone, I'm gonna have to give it a Beetlejuice. I think, as Sachin mentioned, that it's not the most original take on this kind of genre, which is kind of going against it. Honestly, that's the thing that kind of brought it down where it's like not the most original. Meanwhile, Beetlejuice is definitely a much more original take on events. Especially with the rules of the afterlife being told. So for that alone, I'm going to have to give it a Steve. So now we have 3-1. Sorry, 3-2. My bad. So now this one is definitely a lot more trickier because it's made by the same guy. But if you want to go ahead and explain why you think Tim Burton did better with Beetlejuice versus Edward Scissorhands, let me know. Go ahead.
Okay, how does this one work compared to writing?
How he presented it. Like, writing is totally, everything's on the page, but how he presented it on the big screen, though, there's a difference between the ideas on paper might sound great, but when you put it on the big screen, that's totally different.
Yeah, to anyone watching, I definitely enjoy movies, but I'm more of in depth of video games compared to movies or something. But I'll try to see what I can do with this.
Okay, all right.
Like I said, the way that Tim Burton directs this one compared to some of the other movies is, like I said, definitely an interesting one. He's like,
it's okay. It's okay. Here, you want to switch roles for a moment, while you be the moderator?
Yeah, maybe just try Sachin first.
I'll let Sachin go, then I'll defend Beetlejuice. All right, go ahead.
All right, yeah, I think Edward Scissorhands, in terms of direction, is you can see Burton's a little more mature in that sense. That Beetlejuice is, I think, only his second or third film. But you see the progression from Beetlejuice to Batman to Edward Scissorhands, and you can see how he matures as a director. He finds his style, and he really sticks to it, and he creates these worlds with his camera better than ever, I think, in Edward Scissorhands. And that's where I think he really got in touch with his style. You can look at something like Batman, which is before Edward Scissorhands, versus something like Batman Returns, which is after Edward Scissorhands, and you can see how much more of the Tim Burton DNA is inserted into Batman Returns. Not that there isn't any in Batman, but I think he became more confident in expressing his filmic language in the way he wanted by the point of Edward Scissorhands. So.
Well, I do agree with the fact that Edward Scissorhands has definitely allowed him to showed him his maturity as a filmmaker, sure, and keep in mind, Beetlejuice is his actually second directorial, I
think I might have something for this one. Beetlejuice is an interesting case because, well, it was actually kind of his second directorial debut, and weirdly enough, at this point, before Beetlejuice came out, Tim Burton never really had a distinct style yet. I mean, we definitely know about it nowadays, in terms of how everything looks, but we never really saw it yet. Beetlejuice, I would definitely say, is the one that really kind of cemented kind of the otherworldly style that he has, especially in terms of some of the effects. You think it's just gonna be okay, there definitely are a lot of really unique practical effects in terms of how it's shown, the fact that you kind of see all these characters who are essentially dead and they appear as the way they died. One, like I said, had a bit of a shrunken head, one might be decapitated, so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. But then there's even how some of the effects works. When they're on Saturn, don't ask how that works. Everything almost has sort of this cheap but still kind of unique look to it. And even when they're getting attacked by the sandworms, it's not like a typical giant worm and that's it. It's almost like this weird dolphin that has another worm or monster come out of its mouth, which is sort of the main head and stuff. And all of it, yep. And all of it is in stop motion, which actually would become a bit of a famous style of his, especially in something like Nightmare Before Christmas or Corpse Bride. So. Even during one scene when Beetlejuice is kind of starting to wreak havoc, and like I said, there's also that distinct look that I mentioned about. when he's essentially having some of the sculptures come alive, it's also in stop motion. It's not just like a typical practical effect thing, even though it is still very unique. So basically, it's kind of in terms of like how it's shown. Like some parts look really impressive, and other parts look cheap, but still very unique. Especially in terms of, like I said, when they're trying to essentially interact with Beetlejuice for the first time. One thing I really liked was essentially showing them almost like shrunken down to the set to the model of the house, so they could be able to talk to Beetlejuice, get to know him, and while he does his usual shtick, so on and so forth.
And while, like we mentioned earlier at the start of this, Michael Keaton does not have a lot of screen time, but like they managed to make the most of it with his endearing presence, his vocabulary and mannerisms and whatnot. Like they made the most of it, and for that alone, I have to give it to Burton on that alone. Like he did not show up for the rest of the movie, but
he made the absolute most of it.
Yeah. So, damn, this is really tough, to be honest with you, because like he's managed to make a name for himself for sure with both flicks. But I think Beetlejuice impresses me a little bit more because of the aforementioned uniqueness with the effects and how like this is the film that truly cemented him as a prominent filmmaker in the industry. Like I mean, like when
like even with everything from like sort of like the black and white look in some parts, the sharp distorted angles,
yeah, like
how some of the characters look.
When you look at movies like Batman '89, as well as Edward Scissorhands, Batman Returns, like none of them would have been possible if it wasn't for Beetlejuice, really. So for that alone, I have to give it a Beetlejuice. So, got 42. And the overall, like, okay, so like at this point, you don't have to make any more arguments or discussions here. Like, it's pretty crystal clear that Beetlejuice is the best overall picture. Like, and no hate against Edward Scissorhands. Edward Scissorhands is a phenomenal movie. Personally, it's one of my top movies in general. But in terms of which is the best Burton flick, I definitely have to give it to Beetlejuice for the unique story, the unique world building that this movie has played out, and it's definitely warranted a sequel for sure. I'm not sure if he got hold on a moment. We definitely did get a sequel. Yep. Beetlejuice is officially out in theaters. It's been out for almost a week now. Go check it out in theaters because right now it's time for a review. It's review time. So just pull up my here. Here we go. The living, the dead, can they coexist? That is a common theme behind these Beetlejuice movies. It also applies very well to living and dead movie franchises. No one would have ever guessed that a sequel to Beetlejuice, a film from 1988, would ever be possible. Yet fate is a tricky thing. And after 36 years, it is indeed possible. The big question is, was it worth the wait? Yes, and a little bit of no, and a ton of yes. Decades after the original movie, Lydia Dietz is now a mother and struggles to keep her family together in the wake of a loss. Her means to connect with her only daughter while also avoiding the crazed, chaotic, crummy bioexorcist specter Beetlejuice continues to stalk haunt her. The movie was an absolute delight from start to finish. I'm glad we get more Beetlejuice this time around. As we mentioned during Movie Versus, he had minimal screen time in the original, despite how they managed to make that work. Michael Keaton Douglas, yeah, he wants to be called Michael Keaton Douglas, so I'm going to respect that. Still has it after all these years, considering he's 73 years old, but moved around like he was still 36 years old. Okay. It just dawned on me as I was writing this review, that it took 36 years to get the sequel out, and Michael Keaton was 36 when he worked on the original Beetlejuice movie. Again, fate is a tricky thing. Want to know who else has it after all these years? Winona Ryder and Catherine O'Hara. Their chemistry is unrivaled and never miss a beat. Not only was it thrilled to see Michael and Winona back, but Catherine O'Hara was such a show steal, and I'm so happy she's getting the respect she deserves. She was energetic and hilarious in every scene she is in. Jenna Ortega was also fantastic as the more grounded reminder of what Lydia used to be. If anything, she was the more human character of the entire cast, and that's a good thing. Apart from the return of Tim Burton, Michael, Winona, and Catherine, the practical effects and the bonkers musical score by Danny Elfman also makes a grand return. And boy, it felt refreshing to see a movie in the year 2024 to see these kind of effects, especially considering we live in a sea of mostly generic sounding soundtracks and CGI-centric nonsense. Look, I have no real issue with the use of CGI. I'm just saying that it's just really cool and really refreshing to see a sequel stick to its roots of why it made the original such a fascinating watch to begin with. Unfortunately, there are some issues that are plaguing this movie for me. A bunch of subplots and characters get introduced. While they were intriguing and fun to see, like Willem Dafoe's B-movie action slash cop Spectre, Monica Bellucci's Dolores being the soul-sucking witch, Justin Theroux's Rory as the scummy boyfriend of Lydia's, and many, many more. However, despite their interesting adventures and interesting potential, most of them, they sadly get swept under the rug. Like, they end prematurely. Like, imagine meeting a friend for the first time, and as soon as you're about to get to know them, they immediately leave without any explanation, leaving you completely hollow inside. And that's just how I felt about many of these subplots. Despite all that, Beetlejuice is a sequel worthy of its namesake. It's hauntingly hilarious and a definite fun time to see it at theaters with your friends, and it is the perfect way to get ready for the Halloween spooky season. This gets a solid 3.5 out of 5 stars. Let me know if you've seen Beetlejuice, because it's out in theaters right now. Besides me and Steve, did you see Beetlejuice yet?
I have not. Me and Felicia, my wife, have been wanting to go, but we have not gotten a chance yet. But we are very excited to check it out. Seems like a good time, but of course, with the caveats.
Yeah, I got that. Another movie that came out that is coming out next weekend, but thankfully, me and Steve, who is the bigger nerd in this regard, we ended up seeing this together last night for early access screening. Thanks to AMC.
One of the best Transformers movies I've ever seen in my life.
Holy fuck! It's review time. That's right. We got another review. Here we go. It is hard to describe my thoughts and feelings.
Oh no! I get this one.
I have a written review, genius. Okay. All right.
We'll do both.
Okay. It is hard. Okay, we'll do both. That's fine. It is hard to describe my thoughts and feelings regarding Transformers 1. I'm not at all a giant fan of this franchise. That is my job. But I can safely say that this is officially my personal favorite Transformers theatrical experience in recent memory. When the first trailer premiered earlier this year, I wasn't thoroughly convinced, as the trailer placed heavy emphasis on the comedy in this. However, I gave it a chance, as I had a feeling that there was more to than just the simple laughs.
There were like a bunch of laughs in the movie, obviously, and to be fair, some of them don't really hit, and others actually did kind of make me laugh. But there were also a lot of moments where it got genuinely dark. I don't mean like just like pure grim dark, but definitely enough to the point where the relationship between Orion Pax and D16, who would become Optimus Prime and Megatron, started to get tested a little bit, and it kind of makes you want. And even if you're a Transformers fan and you know what's happening, you still hope that they're able to make it through for the end. And even if you are not a fan, it still does a good job on like it's showing you that these two have been friends for like a long time, and you want to see them like together for the end and stuff.
Transformers 1 is the untold prequel origin tale of how Optimus Prime and Megatron went from being brothers to sworn enemies. This whole film hinges on the chemistry between these two extremely well-written characters. Well, yes, there's a good chunk of comedy in this, mostly thanks to Keegan-Michael Key's B-127, aka Bumblebee. The real meat and potatoes of this film is the dramatic tension and shift between Orion Pax and D-16. Even if you aren't a fan of this franchise, you know what is about to happen. But thanks to really good writing, you don't want these two characters to part ways at all. Part of me, at least, wanted these two to still be brothers and work things out. Unfortunately, it left off in a pretty heartbreaking final act.
I mean, even for someone like me who this is definitely one of the franchises where I'm like a big fan of both sides. Like I'm more of a Decepticon guy just because I feel like I enjoy some of the characters. They're a little bit more, especially Soundwave. I mean, I have them as my picture, but I also enjoy the Autobots and what they stand for in terms of trying to make sort of like a more fair society for Cybertron compared to what Megatron was doing. But even with me being more of a Soundwave Megatron Decepticon fan, even I was honestly rooting for him to essentially still be with Orion Pax, and whatever happens in the movie, they would still try to tackle it together. But unfortunately, yeah, I knew about on the back of my head that it wouldn't really be the case and stuff. It's honestly the same as X-Men First Class. Like you see them both essentially wanting to take care of a problem together, but unfortunately, some things happen, and then sort of that whole friendship there starts to get tested and stuff. And it really is heartbreaking. And there's one moment where, even for someone like me, I was completely shocked and horrified at. And you know something is doing really good when, even if I'm on the on set team of it, even if I'm shocked by what that character did, you know something is being done right.
Aside from the story, the music is fantastic and the animation is bonkers beautiful.
The music, funny enough, is actually done by the same guy who did Transformers Prime, one of my favorite shows ever.
Bring that up, yeah. Like if you're a fan of Transformers Prime, you'll hear a very familiar musical cue within the soundtrack. So be sure to look forward to that. There's a lot of references here and there, but we'll touch on that in a moment. According to Steve, he claims that this is the most original take on the planet Cybertron, with its constant transforming landscape and unique city look. I can't help but also praise the voice work of Chris Hemsworth and Brian Tyree Henry.
For someone like me, I was a little on the fence on that first. And look, I know nothing is ever going to top Peter Cullen and Frank Welker. Like those guys are Optimus Prime and Megatron. Though there have been other voices to take up the mantle, and it kind of changes from different ways, but I still think most of them did a very good job. Gary Chalk and David Kay, who played Optimus Primal / Megatron Beast Wars, but also Optimus Prime and Megatron throughout the Unicron trilogy, consisting of Armada, Energon, and Cybertron, I thought did a very good job. I thought David Kay playing Optimus and Corey Burton playing Megatron in animated was actually a really interesting take, but we definitely know that Peter Cullen and Frank Welker are always going to be the main OGs, so even for someone like me, but I know that they might not always be there, so if there's a chance that something were to happen to them, I actually would be okay in saying that Chris Hemsworth and Brian Tyler Henry did a good job. I think I heard from some people that maybe because he's Australian, I think maybe his accent for Optimus Prime maybe stands out a little bit on some parts, but I didn't really mind it too much. I still thought he did a really good job. And Brian Tyler Henry, I was a little unsure about his Megatron at first, but he absolutely killed it in the end.
Yeah, at first I also didn't think that these two would work at all with these two iconic characters, but the more the story went on, the more I started to hear Optimus and Megatron than the actors themselves. Like when you first like the first half of the movie, you're like, okay, I'm definitely hearing the voice actors acting out, right? But the more you kept watching them, like the more you get sucked into the story and characters, the more you're like you start like, okay, I'm no longer hearing Chris Hemsworth or an American sounding Chris Hemsworth. I'm hearing Optimus Prime, especially the moment he becomes Optimus and the moment Brian becomes Megatron. Like it really blew my mind, like how far they took this character. And look, I'm not also not taking away the fact that Peter
Oh,
Cullen.
quick thing for Anthony. Yes, I played both of those games, and I absolutely love the hell out of them.
Okay. I am not taking away the fact that Peter Cullen is the voice of Optimus, but if by any means he won't be able to voice the character anymore, I won't mind if the God of Thunder takes the mantle. He certainly earned it. As for Brian's official Megatron voice, he was damn menacing. He almost reminded me of T.C. Carson's Kratos from the Greek saga of God of War. You'll definitely hear a lot of inflections of that kind of Decepticons! Like, it definitely sounded like TC.
I can actually imagine Greek Kratos being Megatron in one version.
That would be cool as hell. My only gripe, and it's funny enough, it's his gripe as well, is that the pacing, especially during the second act, could have been handled a little bit better, but that didn't take away my enjoyment.
I think maybe at least 10 extra more minutes I think would have sufficed, but for what they got, they still did a pretty good job, all things considered. And there are a bunch of characters who do appear in this, but the main focus is mostly on Orion Pax / Optimus Prime, D16 aka Megatron, Alita 1, Bumblebee, Sentinel Prime, and I think one or two others, but those are sort of like the main characters. But if you're a Transformers fan, there are actually a bunch of other characters that are kind of more like Easter eggs and more smaller character or side characters, but they still do like a good job. And if you're able to catch them out, it's a really fun thing. And hell, even some of the other ones, like say Starscream, Soundwave, and Shockwave, kind of surprised me a little bit.
Almost became Bumblebee. Like he becomes Bumblebee when it comes to Transformers. Like if you've seen the clip where he encounters Shockwave, Starscream, and Soundwave, I'm immediately think of Steve right off the bat, which is kind of fun.
And hey, Steve Buscemi as Starscream. That I wasn't sure about that at first. So I was like, oh, maybe that could work. And I wouldn't say he had like a major thing in the movie, but he still definitely did pretty good, all things considered. And yep, now I actually want to see Steve Buscemi more as Starscream. He's like a perfect fit.
From fantastic animation, dope soundtrack, and a well-written story, this is certainly a one for the ages. It is certainly more than meets the eye. Please go check it out whenever you can. You won't regret it. I'm seeing it again next Sunday.
Oh, and one other thing that I actually like about this movie. Sorry if I keep saying it. This is some. I'm a huge Transformers fan, so I'm getting a little bit giddy about this part. Mm-hmm. The thing I actually like about this one is, if you're a fan, you'll definitely really enjoy it. But if you're not a fan of Transformers, then I think this isn't really a bad place to start. It kind of gives like the general ball going on like how does the world works, how do they work off each other, how do they become enemies, and so forth. So if this was someone's like first introduction to Transformers, I don't think it would have been a bad one. I mean, there was actually a lot of kids in our audience, and they all seemed to really enjoy it. So it's not really a bad place to kind of show a kid to get into Transformers. I mean, I grew up on Beast Wars first, or my first Trans movie I saw in the theaters was the Michael Bay one, and hey, I still have a bit of a soft spot for that one. But hey, I still think this is not only a really good movie for both fans but also newcomers. I think might really enjoy this too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. I'll have to check it out. I'm sorry I cut you off there. I haven't seen it, so I don't know if you're just about to ask me that or not.
Good.
But I do really want to check it out. I didn't hear anything really about it until just now. You guys mentioning it. It sounds pretty awesome. I know jack shit about Transformers. I know Optimus Prime, Megatron. Unicron.
I'm kind of the Transformers geek here. If you want to,
yes, I do know.
Soundwave profile picture.
I gave it away. Yeah, but
Soundwave superior, Autobots inferior.
I have also heard that there's a Transformers comic series coming out of Image right now.
Oh, really?
Written and drawn by a really great writer artist named Daniel Warren Johnson. And people
are you talking about Skybound?
No, it's just called Transformers. It's a new series. I think it started earlier this year. Energon Universe or some shit like that. I don't fucking know, man. All I know is that it's getting rave reviews from people. He's a great writer / art. He does both writing and art. So the stories are very. Whenever he writes something, it's like there's no disjointment between the art and the storytelling, because he controls all of it. Like reading a manga, right, where it's like it's all controlled by the author. So I thought it's real. I mean, I've read a couple of his his stories. With I read one called "Do a Power Bomb," which was really good. It's about pro wrestling, and then he did a Wonder Woman Dead Earth and for DC and Beta Ray Bill for Marvel, which was great. So I would definitely check out that Transformers series if you haven't checked it out.
And Paramount has been killing it as of late, especially with the Sonic franchise. I cannot wait for Sonic 3. That's just shit. We'll definitely touch on that whenever we can. But considering Transformers is the hot buzz right now, for next weekend we're having another movie versus this time on the original Michael Bay Transformers versus Bumblebee, because in honor of Transformers 1, we might as well just do an episode on that. And this next time, I'll be playing the game. Steve can be the moderator. All right, we'll just play it at that. But
Okay.
now we got some serious talk right now. Okay, like some really really serious talk. This is kind of shitty. So Valerie Curry, who plays Firecracker in the latest season of The Boys.
Wait, is this like a breaking news thing?
This isn't really breaking, but this is something that Ethan wanted to bring up because how the fuck have you not seen Rise of the Beast yet? Oh, it's okay.
Okay, so maybe you just didn't have time or something?
That's fair.
Hey, shit. The last Transformers movie I saw was the third one.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, I haven't seen any of them since then. So.
I'm just gonna say this for you. Do not. Age of Extinction and Last Night aren't worth it. Bumblebee, Rise of the Beast. Bumblebee is awesome. Rise of the Beast is pretty okay, but I still definitely recommend it. And Transformers 1 is awesome. So skip 4 and 5. Watch Bumblebee, Rise of the Beast, and Transformers 1.
Okay. All right, we'll do.
So
okay.
On to...
Okay, one more thing before we start, and okay, this is gonna be freaking stupid. But why did they, as much as I enjoyed it, why did they have to call it Transformers 1? Because what were we supposed to call the 2007 movie then? Just Transformers 2007?
I mean, it's like when Xbox made the Xbox One.
Oh yeah, that was stupid.
Or when Madden named their...
We all got to come together as one. I don't know.
When Madden made their 25-year anniversary game, I think it was like 10 years ago, they called it Madden 25. But this year's game is also called Madden 25. So
yeah, it's fucking
it's
okay. Sorry for cutting you off. Moving on.
All right, so we need to talk. Okay, to any convention attendees that are aspiring to go to like New York Comic Con, which is happening in a couple of weeks, or Big Texas Comic Con, we need to have a talk. Okay, because this shit is unacceptable. Valerie Curry, who plays Firecracker in the latest season of The Boys, which I have yet to see, by the way. She was getting harassed by a couple of con attendees that wanted to get freaky. According to what she said, I know people saw a character that I play do some pretty extreme things on The Boys. I don't care if you're in costume. I don't care if you're in character. It's not okay, and it's not funny to demand those things from me in person at my booth. But frankly, to the person who did that repeatedly today, I made it clear that it wasn't okay, and they only seemed to make this person and their friend angry. It was quite clear I was uncomfortable. Everybody else knows better. I don't know what reaction you were looking for. Nobody was laughing. Like, okay, look, I can't believe we have to talk about this. I legit, thank you, fucking thank you. Cons are not consent. Cosplay and cons are not consent. Look, I get it. There's a lot of sexiness going on at various conventions here and there, from cosplays to major celebrities and whatnot, but that does not give you the fucking right. If anything, it's fucking disgusting if you ask me. So keep it to yourself, okay? Like it. It really disgusts me that a lot of cosplayers and now even celebrity guests have to be very, very cautious on who is going to see them at specific conventions now, because this shit is unacceptable. It really, really is. I'm going to keep this up for the remainder of this discussion here because this is pretty ridiculous, man. I legit don't know what else to say here. It really boggles my mind that people are continuing to do this. Like it's like it's an ongoing issue, and it's something that is not going to go away at all unless like someone puts their fucking foot down. And I'm glad Valerie Curry has brought it up because it's unacceptable. It's honest to God unacceptable.
Yeah, I don't really know what else I can add there other than it's ridiculous and unacceptable that people act this way, and that these women or celebrities, whoever, they have to come out and say, hey, like, this is not fucking cool. Like, why? What you know what I mean? Like, that's the sad part to me. More, of course, it's still sad that it's happening to her, but like, it's sad on the fact that she has to come out and say it, and it's like, you know what I mean? It's ridiculous.
I mean, like, these people, like, not only do they play amazing characters for you all, they actually work the courage to actually come to these panels, these conventions for you guys, and this is how you act. This is how you're going to behave. If they're going to be like that, then they should not do that at all. Fuck your content. Like, keep it in your pants, for crying out loud. Jeez. Anyway, here's the latest update. Oh, hold on. I've been going to con since 2017. I learned things and learned how to behave. Yeah, just be good people. That's all I'm saying. What are you doing, Steve?
Huh?
What was that?
Oh, sorry. I was just checking something. My bad.
You're good. So, to close up, me and Steve and Ethan will be attending Big Texas Comic Con on October 12th, and we'll be.
Yes, we are going in August. We are time travelers.
Yes, we are. Fuck you. We'll also attend MegaCon 2025. Details on that will come a little bit later. Hold on a moment. Proud of you. Keep doing what you're doing, man.
Good.
So, any updates you want to bring, Sachin? Do you have anything going for you?
Nothing really. Just glad to be a part of the show, and thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I really appreciated this, man. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad we were able to get this to work out, and we will be back with another episode next Sunday. We'll stay tuned for details. All right, and thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode. Please hit like and subscribe, everybody. Take care.
Have a good night, everyone.
Bye, everybody.